So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining in with us today. Today we have Mr. Yashovardhan Agrawal. Uh, Yash is a developer relations professional who works to empower the developer community by helping them find their place in the open source space and explore the technology sector from a different perspective. Currently, he is the developer relations manager at Rocket Chat. To get a small glimpse of his journey so far, he has founded DevRel.page, which is an initiative to help people find their way into developer relations. And he has been working he's been working as a DevRel consultant with various companies, including GitHub, MLH, Grouparoo, Zoomcar, and many others. He has been the hackathon community manager of Asia Pacific and EU, and we're delighted to have him as one of our MLH coaches. Mr. Yash, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that introduction, Sukrit. Just a change over there. I forgot to update my website mostly, so I'm not working with Rocket Chat anymore. I have changed and gone to explore a new field that is Web3 now, and I'll be talking about that as well in this conversation today with everyone. But before that, I'm seeing a lot of fire emojis over here already. So that's awesome. Like everyone, just put out your favorite emojis. Mine is definitely fire emoji, and I can see people already taking out that. That's so awesome. Just put out your fire emojis. Put out any emojis you like over here in the comments. I would love to see that. It would be awesome to see people over here. I'm seeing a lot of hashtags, HackOwasp. That's pretty cool as well. So tell me where you are joining from. Tell me your questions, everything. I would be very happy to answer everything. I guess Palak Modi, Kamalpreet Singh, you are pretty excited. Akshat Jain, Stuti Mittal, a lot of people are over here. Thanks a lot for joining in. So for today's session, I did not prepare any particular slides. So basically, the session is about how I stumbled across DevRel, right? How I stumbled across hackathons, how I stumbled across open source. I feel in my journey, I particularly stumbled across a lot of things, and the basic thing was when I grabbed an opportunity, I just kept going. Maybe that is something around what I'm doing with Web3 right now as well, I should say. But the thing over here is that I just want you all to know a small journey and maybe like try to relate with it as much as possible and ask questions. That's the biggest part because I want you all to actually go ahead and like try it out whatever you are doing currently. And like everybody, I'm seeing a lot of craze around developer relations, and maybe people think it's like a easier ball game to go forward with. It's like a like interesting space to be in. Definitely it is, but not easy for sure, I'm telling you, because there are a lot of different things that are inside of this. When you get into this field, you'll get to know, and a lot of other things around DevRel as well. Like it sounds like a very fascinating job, but depends if it's for you or not. So it's a lot of different things. So I'd like to start with the journey aspect, what I am here for. So I started actually coding pretty early in my life, like when I was in class 11th, I guess. That is around 2013 or something. I made my first Android application, and that time, like Android applications were like not like very like easy to make. Like Android Studio was not present, not a lot of tutorials are available. So there was a funny story around that. So it was definitely class 11, and you all might know about the JE preparations and everything. So I had to go to my coaching, and I needed a phone. And I needed an Android phone because definitely I needed something different, a smartphone particularly. So my family gave me like the worst possible one so that I can actually concentrate on my studies rather. But I wanted it to look like more of what my father's phone looked like, right? So what I did was I tried to just sneak out his phone and copy paste different applications, different codes from here to there, reading a lot of stuff on the internet and try to make something out. A lot of things were copy paste. I'm totally seeing that, but in that process I got to learn different things, and in that process I made my first Android app, without knowing much about coding, without knowing much about anything, I just tried to do something. And that has been basically how I approach anything in my life about coding in general. If you don't know particularly, try to build something out. You will stumble across and know what you want to do ultimately. And that's something you can do a lot. And you will have to do a lot if you are going into a hackathon. That is like HackOwasp next week as well. If you don't understand a particular thing, try to implement it. You'll know what you're doing later on. So, anyway, so that's how I made my first Android app and tried to like give it out to friends, list it out on like the Play Store and everything. It got accepted in Play Store and rejected later, but that was a funny experience, I should say. Tried competitive coding a bit. Did not like it much, to be honest. Like it felt like giving an exam, so I left it. But in this journey, basically, what happened was I did not do very well in my JE. So what happened was I got a mechanical engineering like branch in the college. The college was decent, but the branch was not something I wanted to do. I always wanted to go into this field because I really was fascinated around it. So computer science was what I wanted, but definitely I have to accept what I have, right? So now that's when the hackathon happened. That's when a hackathon called LNM Hacks happened, and I was just like someone who does not know what actually coding is, but can build something because I just again copy paste or make something up or do something out there, just try to understand stuff. And that's how I always did it. And yeah, definitely some cool ideas did work for me. So that's how I started off. But when the first hackathon happened, I was not accepted in that. I just asked the organizer, that was my senior, to just give me a place. I could not know what a hackathon is. I did not know anything. I just went there, tried to understand it, got to know, okay, we have to build a product. Okay, I know how to build a product. That's what's the only thing I knew. And I had an idea. Let's build a product around Google Maps. So at that point, Google Maps was not that efficient. I remember it was 2016, 6 years ago. And like finding like specifically in my native place, finding places was very difficult. So I had an idea of what if we convert it to a pin code system, that is a global pin code system, using the latitude and longitude that can be extracted using the Google Map API. So I was trying to do that, and I did that, and I won my first hackathon, and I could not believe it because my seniors were also participating. My like colleagues who are much better, I should say, were participating and everything. So that was a very interesting experience, but mostly it was a learning experience, I should say, because in those 24 hours, I got to know about GitHub, open source, everything around that. But that was something I did not know earlier, right? So that conversation with people, that whole thing actually made me understand what I need to do further. Because I did not want to do competitive coding. I did not want to like go ahead and just do what I was doing right now, and also not definitely my academics at that point. So I got into the world of open source. I got into these things because of my first hackathon. And maybe HackOwasp can be something that can be this for you as well. Like any hackathon out there can be this, right? Something different you can learn by just interacting with people. So make sure you do that. So yeah, that happened, and I got into open source. So another motivation of open source is Google Summer of Code. I had that motivation as well. So I remember in first year, what I did was a very simple thing. I thought, let's apply for Google Summer of Code. Oh, definitely, I was not going to make it, but I tried for Mac ports, I remember. So basically, if you know, Mac ports is similar to Homebrew, some kind of a command line tool. And I did not know much about command line tools. I had never used properly one, I should say, like for installing different binaries into your Mac OS. So that's what that is. But I tried out, and their code base was huge. I could not understand a thing, but I definitely tried out. Definitely got rejected. But at the same time, I stumbled across Koala, an organization which was very beginner friendly, I should say. So it's a linting organization, code quality organization, And that is where I learned about open source quite a lot, like how to contribute, how to do different things. Like got into Google Coding as a mentor and everything because of those experiences. And for those 1 year, I tried to do that. And the next year, the interesting thing happened was I became a Google Summer of Code mentor because of the experiences. So if you go ahead and just contribute into a particular project, if you know about it, being a beginner is a totally fine thing, right? I was a total beginner who got rejected in Google Summer of Code, which I was aiming for. The next year, I was just contributing all around, not thinking about that particular competition. If I thought about it, I would not have contributed for the next year. I would again have hit it over in December, maybe. That's what people do to get selected in like around around March, I guess. So I just kept contributing, and that was the biggest thing because of that, I got to learn a lot of things. Because of that, my skill sets grew. Because of that, I knew coding as it is, right? And why I'm telling you this is a lot of people think if you are in developer relations, just the community work is enough. To an extent, I will say community work is one of the major parts of developer relations, but again, it has multiple sectors. If you more go into the program managerial side, community managerial side, definitely these experience can be the thing. If you go towards developer advocacy, evangelism side, you need to know what the actual tech is. You need to know the infrastructure side and also how it works from the API perspective as well. Because maybe you are at a hackathon promoting your particular product and you need to actually integrate it for another project. And that person might be building something so fantastic you might not even understand the code base a bit, but you know your stuff good enough to actually integrate into their project. And definitely you will be pair programming, so that's not a big deal, but you need to know about it properly, right? So that is one of the basic things. So it depends on what field you want to go to. I initially definitely knew coding, right? So I was doing all of these things, but how I got into community, that's another thing. So till now, I've told you the story of my first hackathon, how got I got into open source and everything, and how I kept contributing into it. But with open source came the community aspect now. So GitHub was having this campus experts new thing coming over. I remember it was announced at MLH Hackcon in 2017 or something. I read that email and I thought, let's do this. This is sounding very interesting. And there were a lot of applicants, and I just tried to be one of them. I tried to complete the whole training. It was a very different process because now everybody knows about it. At that point, nobody knew about it. And because I like GitHub, I just got into it. I tried other communities as well. I went into a ton of communities, but this community stayed with me particularly, I should say. And it's not like this is the ultimate community, I'll say again. A lot of people I know are from Mozilla. A lot of people I know are from GDGs, really good MSPs, Microsoft people. Like, depends on which community stays with you. It depends if the MLH community also stays with you, where you learn is the biggest part, right? GitHub community stayed with me, and I got opportunities to go across to different events to go and speak about GitHub. So that is where I thought this is a very cool thing, right? I'm just getting to travel across, like have nice hotels and everything, and go across and speak in events about Git and GitHub, which I like love to do, and I know it properly, right? So that something was fascinating for me, and I was just doing it for free because it was so much fun. But later on, when I got into bigger conferences, I got to know this is actually a full time job, and that is when I was like, I need to get this job. But again, to get this job, you need to know how to code and you need to have some experiences. So that is when I went across like in Bangalore and had like a few like months of like engineering experience like a software developer first. But MLH was coming over and I got into it as a coach first and then a community manager just to expand them into India properly. So again, all the connections worked, all the different things worked over here. And that's how I stumbled across my first, I should say, kind of DevRel, like the starting point of DevRel job in the community management space, right? not a technical community management space, but a community management space in the tech sector. So you need to understand that point, right? So that is what gave me the kick over there. People have different journeys, people have different experiences. And if I talk about DevRel, it's not just a singular thing that you can do. A lot of people do social media marketing as well over there, which I don't believe is DevRel. A lot of people might not believe is DevRel. Inside of marketing, it's like developer focused marketing, but if I talk about strategy, it's a different thing what you need to do. So I'm not going into a lot of details around my journey. It's like a lot of different things I learned across a lot of ways I did something. I tried to create content a lot of times. I tried to make documentations, understand the strategies around how I do it. Events again, like there's some certain strategies I had to learn those things. What works, what not works. We need to understand at that point how programs are structured. A lot of things you need to understand while getting into DevRel. So it depends on you which area you want to focus on, which area you want to actually drill down upon your experiences. And definitely keep exploring the tech. That is the most important part. So that was basically some of the things I wanted to highlight in my journey. This session I wanted to be really, really interactive. So I would love for you all to ask me questions about anything from open source to hackathons to developer relations. What do you have particularly as a question? I would love to have that. And that's how I want to proceed further. So, is there any question out there in the chat? Hit me up with a few questions and I would be really happy to answer that, because I guess if I'm just talking over here, the session will get pretty boring. So that's why I want to keep it interactive, right? I can go across the further parts of my journey as well, of how I got into different like contracts and everything, how I got into speaking a lot, how I got into making setups and everything as well. I can go into that. Right now, I would love to have some questions and interact with you all a bit, right? So, is everyone alive over here? Can I see a more, at least more fire emojis first? Okay. Let me have some fire emojis in the chat. I guess a few people are watching this right now. Let's have them. Or your questions, anything. Do the organizers have any questions around developer relations or anything? Like, make sure to ask that as well. Okay. So I guess I have a few questions over here. I'll start with that, right? So recently the question was asked to me was, oh, I can see some fire emojis. That's awesome. Perfect. So what is developer relations? Is it similar to engineering management? So if you know about engineering management is like you are managing engineers or you are managing a group of engineers, right? So that was around that. Right. Oh, I guess like you have written chat enabled. The chat was disabled for a moment or something. Like I don't know about the admin might have did that by mistake. Anyway, so I'm again going forward with it. So I've got a question that is engineering management similar to DevRel? I will say no. Because if I talk about engineering management, people who are core engineers go out there and actually manage the core engineering aspect of everything, right? So their job is not to promote the tech, their job is to manage the tech, right? Now, if I talk about DevRel, DevRel is a way to basically help get people on board or market. Not just market, I'll say the market is a very typical term. People can associate with anything, but I will say uh, enablement is the basic term over here. So if I talk about Devil, we never go ahead and do marketing particularly. We go ahead and understand what people are going through while exploring the product and fix those aspects. That can be the documentation, that can be the wording of the whole project, how the API is structured, how the whole way of delivering a particular thing is structured, right? How the messaging of the company is structured towards developers or not. Those are the things we fix. And marketers have a different job. Marketers are the ones who amplify the voice now, right? So we are the voice, marketers amplify that voice, and the core lies in the engineering. And that is where the management happens, and that is where engineering management happens. So that is around engineering management. Another question I got was around, is it similar to leading a tech, like working as a tech lead? Again, engineering manager has to manage things. Tech lead has to like manage a specific sector of that particular tech. Maybe like tech lead can be the front end or the back end tech lead. Engineering manager can be the whole people encompassing it, right? So again, DevRel work very closely with tech leads. They do not work like as tech leads because definitely their job is to make sure the voice and the content is properly structured, or the like messaging is structured. So definitely not tech lead as well. It's very similar. So what is the exact role? So here's where I would like to actually talk a bit about DevRel, because not a lot of people talk about DevRel particularly, and this session is about that, right? So I'm opening like DevRel.page. So I've done a few things over there around DevRel.page, and maybe that can help you around. So I'm sharing my screen really quickly. So just a moment. Is there any of the organizers over here? Like, can you just add the screen on the like whole main screen as well? Perfect. Thanks a lot for that. Cool. So inside of here, I've highlighted a few of those different developer relations jobs as well, how they actually work and what they do. So right now, I'm waiting for your questions right now in the chat. I am just going through the questions I had previously from a few people. So I'm just going through that. So if I talk about the exact role of developer relations, I had talked about like developer evangelists, advocates, product engineers, marketers, community management people, and definitely experience specialists, right? So if I talk about developer advocates, their job is to actually grasp things from the community, understand what the community is going through, and get into that, right? Like maybe somebody is facing documentation problems. Where are they facing documentation problems? They need to understand that, and they try to just get that information into the company. So that is the job of advocates. If we talk about evangelists, it's just the opposite of that. So their job is to go out there and speak about their product and events. So that is the way of messaging, and that is where it differs. Like here, this person goes out and talks about the product. Here, this person actually goes about and understands from the people who are using the product. So the audience is different for both of them, and the way of messaging is different. Again, DevRel is about messaging. That's what I would like to say. DevRel product engineers, or maybe the people who focus more on the product side of DevRel, how product and DevRel works, right? So, so basically, if I talk about product engineers and product managers particularly, they want to have feedback from the like customers. Product manager, whenever your product is working, they get feedback from the customers. But when what will happen if the product is focused on a developer community? Then in that case, the stimulation of how the product should be like changed, or what the problems are, will be like not there, right? Because you cannot talk to each and every developer out there. So that is where DevRel comes in, and that is where advocates also help a lot. But these this is basically how they work closely with the product team, and these are people who work like in the intermediary of DevRel and product. Next are marketers. I've talked a lot about marketers. So that is one of the aspects of how would I would like to say, not social media marketing marketers, not actually like typical like marketing aspects of what you might think about. These are the messaging aspects of the marketer. So these people can be writers, content writers, for example. These people can be like event goers, like going into events and promoting on the booths and everything. Those kind of marketers. A lot of marketers can be there. They can form strategies. One of the most important parts of a marketer is to promote and form strategies. Program managers can be one of them. Program managers can fit it into the product engineering side as well, because program management is like depends on the particular program, so it's around that. So these are developer marketers who actually structure the voice of how it should be done. Community managers, as simple as it sounds, these manage the actual community, right? And again, experience specialist is how they form the whole experience of the product. So it might be API design, it might be around like documentation, it might be around all of those things, which actually is where the developers interact with the product, right? So I've highlighted a few of them. There can be more. There are multiple roles, but these are the basic ones what I think are there. So this is what like the exact role of DevRel according to me is. Okay, so thanks a lot for the background thing. I worked a bit on the background, quite a bit, I should say. So yeah, thanks a lot for that, Yoga Sheesh. Awesome. So, any other questions in the chat, please? Like, let me know your questions right now. I would be really happy to answer that. I have a few questions as well, like around the interview process and everything. I would be happy to answer that, but like, I want something in the chat right now. Okay. So I'll go forward with the question about the interview, how DevRel interview happens. And the process of DevRel interviews is one of the most like astonishing things, to be honest. Every single company has their own ways, and nobody knows how to do it properly, to be very honest. Like if I go about talking for like a tech interview, you might know like for a SD interview, might you have like the first round in which you just need to do all the DSA stuff. Then you might have the second again DSA round, which is a bit higher generally, in which you see the problem solving skills. There might be an architectural round, behavior round, and everything like that. But what if your job is to get into the business side of things, into the content writing side of things, and also the coding side of things? What happens over there? So there are interviews in which like you will be asked technical questions. I have faced a lot of interviews like that, and very high level technical questions as well. I remember like I was like giving for one of the big companies like Fangs, and I the first thing I remember was like I was literally giving hacker rank like high to medium level questions as like in the DSA interviews. So I remember those things as well. I've faced those things as well, and you need to be prepared for that. I did not like competitive coding, but I had to prepare for that. So the interview process can be a mix of all the things, but generally, what I'll say is it's around first a technical round or some kind of a behavior round first, and then a technical round, and then it goes on to your skills. If that role demands you to be at events, event specific skills, writing content, written specific skills. If it goes around like this kind of streaming, speaking skills, right? So those particular skills will be tested, and the most important part will be your understanding of the developer ecosystem, how they work, what are the different places they can be found, how you can structure programs to actually manage them. Those are the things, right? So that is around how the interview processes are generally there. A lot of questions are over here in the chat. I'd love to answer that. So the first thing I can see is from Ananya. You mentioned something about Web3, what it is, and how is it different from Web2? Great question, actually. And not a lot of people know about it. So right now I'm working for a company called Web3 Auth, right? So we basically enable authentication to be much more simpler in the Web3 space. Now, what is Web3 in the first place? People don't know much about it right now, because like the idea is to have the decentralized internet. So have you all seen Silicon Valley? Do you all remember like If that this is like Silicon Valley is my favorite series out there. So the basic idea in the final episodes was like they were trying to create a decentralized internet in which the centralization of data is not there. All the data is provided by multiple devices all across the world and is accessed by anybody on the internet. So, what is the idea over here? If I talk about centralization, the data composability is the biggest problem, right? So, now your data is like with Facebook, with Google. You don't have right to access that data. They have the rights on your data. Here you own the rights. And what is actually promoting that at the back end? That is the blockchain technology. And using the blockchain technology, we are forming this decentralized internet, and that is Web3. You have heard about NFTs, the transactions that happen, peer to peer transactions, right? That is the basic thing you need to understand. Direct peer to peer stuff, right? And if I talk about Web3, there are a lot of different things you need to understand, like how the architecture works, like in the back end. It's not just the blockchain, it's like the IPFS storages as well, which are again peer-to-peer storages and all sorts of stuff. Like there's a whole architectural tree. So it's a different field altogether, which is very, very fast moving right now. And if somebody gets in, they need to understand a lot of things. I'm still a beginner, to be very honest. It's just been like 2 months I've been learning these things, and it's been overwhelming, to be honest, as well. But the basic idea is very, very interesting, right? Not everything I believe like can be like decentralized. Decentralization is something that can be like done to an extent, and not everything needs that. But there is definitely a need along a lot of directions. And if you want to explore projects around that, search for DAOs. A lot of DAOs are coming over. What are they doing? The concept of DAO is a very interesting concept. It's around community, so that is the best thing I love about that. Search around how NFTs actually work, right? What happens over there? It's not just about the money in NFTs. It's a lot of things. So yeah, that's basically that. If I talk about Web 2 and Web 3, uh, the ways of how to implement the architecture uh, are very different, but all similar at the same point. Like you need to know how to integrate. The front end technologies remain the same. Some of the backend ideas remain the same, but the backend is powered by the blockchain technology, to be honest, basically. Okay, coming to the next question. How important is DevRel for startups? It depends on the startup. So DevRel basically enables you. So see, to be honest, like in a startup, you have multiple hats to wear, right? So you don't need a DevRel person as such a DevRel person if you are a very early stage startup, right? If I go on consulting a lot of startups, I say them the same thing. You need to just have that kind of a mindset going around to actually help your whole company. That is what it is needed. So DevRel is like a mindset. That is what I would like to say over here. If they have that mindset of how to help their customers, if they are developers, then it's very important. But I guess if it's like a uh, seed stage and like pre-series A startup, that is where they should try to hire some kind of a person who is dedicated full time to handling the community at least, and maybe later on a proper like develop person who can actually make strategies around that as well. So that is where a devil is very important for a startup. Okay, so next question is, what should a newcomer focus on more? Competitive coding or hackathons, or have or somehow find balance? Whatever excites you. See, if I talk about just going into hackathons, it's not enough. If I just talk about just doing competitive coding, again, it's not enough. Why? Because now, okay, so with competitive coding, it might be easy for you to land jobs, but when it comes to the real world stuff, these people, when they go into companies, they need to relearn things. They need to learn how these different technologies work. So definitely your data structures is one of the basics, and you need to know that. But when it comes to understanding and doing the work, you need to understand how the tech works. That is where your hackathon experiences are very good. But again, I never like to do like data structures full time, so I focus on more on the hackathons and the open source side. I will like focus on the open source more, because hackathons to an extent, like after a certain point, just doing hackathons is not enough. You need to do something that is visible. Hackathon is a nice place to actually get started with a really good project or really good idea, or maybe like learn a new technology over a weekend itself. So again, you need to have a balance, but you can go crazy with what you like particularly. It depends on where you are in the stage. If you're just hunting for a job, hackathon might not be the best thing right now. Although, like for a long term, it can be a good thing. Focus on like competitive coding at that point. If you are a learner, focus on hackathons, as well as like if you're just like rather than hackathon, more on hackathons rather than competitive coding, because you need to learn a lot of stuff right now, right? Cool. So what kind of companies have a dedicated DevRel role? So any company which has a product dedicated to developers. Now, if I say what can be a product dedicated to developers, GitHub is a very simple example, right? Their product literally is like around how to make the lives of developers easier. Microsoft Azure, AWS, these are like high tech products which are like cloud technologies. Again, Web3 is pretty much in the hype right now because they need more people to adopt it, to adopt their technology. Who will use their technology? Developers. So the market where developers come into the role, developer relations role come into place. You know about the public relations roles? So if I talk about public relations, the customers is the public, right? What companies need public relations? Maybe media agencies need public relations, right? So their media agency, literally their customers are the whole public, so they need PR. Now, if I talk about developer relations, the developer is the audience or the public or the customer, and that is where developer relations comes in. Okay, so is this concept of decentralization similar to that of blockchain? So the blockchain concept is basically different, and decentralization is an idea made on top of the blockchain concept. So the blockchain concept is around how to process transactions, maybe, or contracts peer to peer, right? Decentralization is one of the use cases of that. Decentralized finances is one of the use cases. Decentralized internet is one of the use cases, right? So as it occurred, if I talk about like the whole idea of Bitcoin, it was around how to transfer money directly and how to like remove middle managers from it. Later on, it evolved and became peer to peer properly, and that's when the decentralization happened. So again, decentralization of internet is not blockchain. Blockchain is can be like considered as like an underlying technology that enables decentralization in a lot of places. Okay. Doesn't it become slower to process to get data from a decentralized storage and updating it for every single instance? Definitely, it's slower. So and expensive as well. That's the basic challenge around Web3. So, like, if you heard about gas prices in Ether, right? If you want to purchase an NFT, you have to pay gas prices, and then there's a small lag when it comes over to do it. So this is a very nascent technology. This is very new technology, to be honest. And if you see about layer twos with Polygon, they are trying to like lower down the prices, make the whole thing more faster. If you heard about things like different blockchains like Solana, for example, they are trying to do a different kind of concept to make it faster and actually cheaper. So definitely there's a bottleneck, and the current tech industry focus is to actually make it more user friendly right now. And what the major focus right now is to have decentralization where it should be, not everywhere, because in some places you need decentralization, in other places centralization helps. Again, the architectural aspect of it, not everything has to be like retrieved from the particular blockchain database that you have. Again, IPFS is something that can help out there. A lot of things on the architectural side. I don't want to get into the core aspects of it because it will be like a lot to cover in the stream. I'll be releasing a blog very soon about the architectural aspects, maybe like next week itself. So you can learn a lot from there itself. Okay. What are the next questions? Let me check that. There are different blockchains coming up. I've heard about layer 1 and layer 2 blockchains. What are those? I just talked about that. Like layer 1 is like what enables the whole thing. Like Ethereum is a layer 1, Solana is a layer 1. That is a different concept of how the staking works basically. Layer 2s make the process better, like by lowering a lot of different things, or I I would not be able to explain it over here. It's like a lot of different things I need to explain for that. So basically, layer twos, to be honest, just make it faster or cheaper. The layer one is the basic underlying technology, the basic blockchain that enables the whole staking in the first place. Okay. Wouldn't switching to dApps of already existing application be unfair to the ones who are actually worked on making those? Will the tech giants be able to sustain with the switch on the future? So, if you have seen in the tech world, nobody can stick to just one technology forever, right? They need to keep evolving. There will be a place where the tech giants need to rethink their business model quite a lot, and accordingly, like adjust with the new formed ways of how dApps work. So dApps also make money, definitely make money. Like if you see around, a lot of dApps are making a lot of money. People are investing money, right? For sure. So tech giants will be able to survive. Maybe if they are not able to survive, a lot of tech giants have died at the like past as well. It's not a thing, but if they keep evolving, they will. So being fair is not the thing. Being fair with the technology and being fair with the application is the thing, not with some app that has been already created. Like the whole technology should be, or the consumer should be focused on here. You talked about DAOs. What are those? How to find an upcoming DAO? Right. Finding a DAO is something a lot of people are working on right now, how to make DAOs more like available. But if you go around and find, there are a lot of, like, just Google around what are the different DAOs. So DAO is a very interesting concept. A DAO is a concept of forming a community or an organization that actually has like people like on a similar hierarchy level. Based on the work they do, they get paid, right? It's not like if you are in a company, you like what should I say, you have like a higher position, you are like the founder of the company, like you have higher stakes and you get paid accordingly, and you are like a new joinee, although you are contributing more, you paid less. DAOs don't do that. DAOs make sure you are paid according to the work you do. So that is the concept, and the like base of it is actually handled by a smart contract, in which your work is basically the thing what actually enables everything, like, and gives you the proper stake of what you have done till now. So that is a basic concept of a DAO. If you go into it, there are a lot of nuances you need to understand. I don't want this particular stream to be about that. That's why I'm not going deep into it. Could you please name some resources from where one can get started to learn about Web3 and stuff? So yeah, definitely there are very, very good resources out there. Buildspace.so is particularly what I really like. The community is really awesome. Just Google it around. Buildspace.so. There are very good uh, what should I say, like Udemy videos and YouTube videos around this as well. One of the channels is Morales. Morales is a very good Web3 project as well if you want to explore them. But their YouTube channel is pretty good. Uh, Udemy courses, I'll say Stephen Grider's courses are pretty good to just start with your Ethereum and Solidity experiences and everything like that. Then go on to explore different other chains. try to see what multi-chain applications are there, how to make those things happen, how bridges are built for cross-chain applications and things like that. A lot of things you can learn. Basically, go by one concept, one at a time, learn different things, and then you'll understand how different things are like bridged upon and made upon one top of that. So yeah, that was around that. So I guess I covered all the questions. I'm kind of tired speaking. I'll just get a sip of water once. Oh, sorry for that. And yeah, I'll make sure I answer Pratik's question in a moment. Sorry. Okay. So you joined the stream late, not a problem. So I had one doubt. How shall I start if I want to be a DevRel engineer? I've been communicated. Uh, I've been like a part of many student communities, but never knew what to do. Okay, so first of all, Pratik, just make sure to know if you want to join DevRel and what's the reason you want to join DevRel. And in like the earlier part of the stream, I was talking about what DevRel is, what are different parts of DevRel. You can check that out on going into DevRel.page as well. Which particular side of DevRel you can actually focus on. You can go there and understand that. But if you want to start, the basic thing I'll say is to start contributing to a community, right? So you are a part of many communities. See what they do, what the aim of the community is, how you can help them grow, and how you can get their help to grow yourself. Do that, right? Like for example, they are what I was doing for the GitHub Campus Experts community when I joined in at that point was to go out there and promote GitHub, and they were helping me promote my own community and like build my own community better by giving me the resources for that. So in the way I contributed back, and they also helped me out, and that's how I grew. See what the community are you part of, like those communities, how what they are trying to do, and try to build upon that, right? GDG communities try to promote Google like different products and how they actually go around and like what should I say, uh, build help developers who are already doing that. See those communities. Mozilla has that very good communities, all sorts of stuff. Try to do that. And other part I will say is try to create content on what you have learned. Any tech content is one of the major parts of DevRel. Any DevRel has to go through some kind of a content journey for sure. So although this might be a statement a lot of people might say no, not really, but yeah, it's good to have like some kind of a content out there as a DevRel to be published. So it can be a very easy low hanging ball for you to just strike at. Awesome. Next question is from Ria. uh, if I am a Swifty or not. So I'm not sure what it means. Uh, like, do I promote on like program on Swift? That's what you were saying. I'm not sure. It's showing me some weird stuff in Google, and I'll not sure how to answer that. Anyway, next question. What are the how easy are the Web3 solutions scalable in real life? So if you go out there and see the current Web3 applications, there are actually existing Web3 applications out there, right? Connect your wallet and get different things transferred. And scalability depends on what particular type of application it is, right? Blockchains have their limits, definitely. If I'm talking about Solana, it crashes a lot of times as well. We have seen that. If I talk about Ethereum, it gets very expensive. Like when a lot of people just get into it, and get a particular thing, uh, like purchase a particular thing. The gas fees fluctuate a lot around that. So scalability in real life is one of the things that is what should I say, like dependent on the first DApp, the basic blockchain behind it, and what the use case is. So scalability depends on that quite a bit. And the second thing here is like it's again a work in progress. All these applications, all these layer ones, layer twos are right now under process, and we are trying to figure out in this sector basically how to make it much more easily accessible and at a much lower cost, at a much higher availability rate to the world. So yeah, Swift language, right? So yeah, the question was around Swift language. I just saw the comment over here. So yeah, I am not a person of Swift language. I'm a JavaScript person. So I've worked a lot around React Native. If I talk about that, to know how to create like applications in iOS. I've worked around a bit of Java very earlier. I don't like Java at all. Sorry for that. Like I'm a JavaScript person. I prefer like everything JavaScript. Recently, a bit of Solidity. Solidity is very similar to JavaScript. That's why I like it. Like a few of the concepts of like C++ also get reminded of me to me like when I see that language. And yeah, that's basically that. I need to learn Rust actually. The next thing I'll do is learn Rust for sure. So, uh, it's been like 1 hour since I'm talking. I don't see any other questions over here right now. So if you have any other questions, make sure to reach me out on Twitter. My handle is written over here itself at the rate Yashovardhan. You can just easily reach out to me and ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer that. And it was really nice talking to you all on over in the stream. I never realized I was talking for 1 hour. That's a lot. And yeah, thanks a lot for having me, folks at HackOwasp. Really glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being with us, Yashovardhan. I hope you liked our hospitality.
Yeah,
So yeah, with
definitely.
this,
It was great.
so yeah, a small bummer actually. Rust is going to be a lot similar to Java. I've been there. So yeah, with this, I think we will end this
I
stream.
kind of anticipated but yeah, thanks for actually giving me a heads up about that.
Okay, so yeah, with this, we will be ending the stream. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining in. See you in the next one. Bye.